Have you ever wondered why some women seem to navigate life with an inexplicable solitude, even when surrounded by people? Why do certain souls appear to carry an invisible burden of understanding that sets them apart from the crowd? Today, we're diving deep into a profound spiritual truth that touches the very essence of what it means to be chosen for a higher purpose. There's something mysteriously beautiful about a woman who walks her path alone, not because she has to, but because her spirit has been called to something greater than ordinary companionship. She carries within her an ancient wisdom that whispers secrets the world isn't ready to hear. And today we're going to explore why this sacred solitude isn't a curse, but rather the greatest blessing a soul can receive. If you feel this resonance in your heart, if you recognize yourself in these words, then you're exactly where you need to be. This message might just change how you see your own journey forever. If you feel aligned with this spiritual vibration, subscribe and activate notifications. Leave in the comments, "I am ready to evolve spiritually." Throughout history, spiritual teachers and regression therapists like Brian Weiss have revealed profound truths about the soul's journey and its purpose on Earth. Dr. Weiss, through his groundbreaking work with past life regression, has shown us that some souls come into this lifetime carrying specific missions that require them to walk a different path than most others. When we understand reincarnation and the soul's evolution through multiple lifetimes, we begin to see why certain women feel an inexplicable pull towards solitude. These are not ordinary souls living ordinary lives. They are ancient spirits who have agreed before their birth to serve as bridges between the physical and spiritual realms. Their solitude isn't accidental, it's divinely orchestrated. Brian Weiss teaches us that some souls volunteer for more challenging incarnations, agreeing to carry heavier spiritual responsibilities. A spiritually chosen woman often carries the cellular memory of being a healer, a wise woman, a priestess, or a mystic in previous lifetimes. This soul memory creates an automatic distance between her and those who haven't yet awakened to their spiritual nature. Think about this for a moment. If you've always felt different, if you've always sensed that you don't quite fit into conventional social structures, it's because your soul remembers its true nature. You're not broken or antisocial. You're simply operating from a higher frequency that not everyone can match or understand. The chosen woman walks alone because she sees beyond the veil that blinds others. While most people are consumed with material pursuits, social status, and superficial connections, she perceives the deeper currents of life. She feels the pain of the collective consciousness, senses the spiritual battles happening in unseen realms, and carries the responsibility of holding light in dark times. This heightened awareness creates a natural barrier between her and those who live purely in the three-dimensional reality. It's not that she's better than others, it's that she's been assigned a different role in the grand cosmic play. Her loneliness is the price of her gifts, but it's also the source of her strength. Brian Weiss often speaks about soul contracts, agreements we make before incarnating about what we'll experience and accomplish in this lifetime. A spiritually chosen woman has likely made a contract to serve as a lighthouse for other awakening souls, to hold space for healing, or to anchor higher frequencies on Earth during these transformative times. Share in the comments an experience where you felt the presence of spiritual mentors or an inner transformation that confirmed your special mission. But here's where many chosen women struggle. They interpret their solitude as evidence that something is wrong with them. They try to force themselves into social situations that drain their energy, relationships that don't honor their depth, and careers that don't align with their soul's calling. This creates immense suffering because they're fighting against their spiritual design rather than embracing it. Society teaches us that happiness comes from external relationships, that a woman's worth is measured by her ability to attract and maintain connections with others. But for the spiritually chosen woman, this paradigm creates confusion and self-doubt. She may spend years wondering why she can't sustain friendships like other women, why romantic relationships feel shallow, or why she prefers the company of her own thoughts to most social gatherings. The truth is, her nervous system is literally wired differently. She picks up energies that others can't perceive, feels emotions that aren't even her own, and processes spiritual information that would overwhelm most people. This hypersensitivity isn't a flaw, it's her superpower, but it requires careful management and yes, often solitude. Many chosen women also struggle with what seems like an endless series of challenges and obstacles. They face more spiritual tests, experience more intense emotional purification, and encounter more resistance when trying to live authentically. This isn't punishment, it's preparation. Each challenge is designed to strengthen their spiritual muscles and prepare them for their ultimate mission. Dr. Weiss has documented countless cases of individuals who experienced traumatic events or difficult relationships that later proved to be essential for their spiritual development. The chosen woman's path of solitude often begins after a significant life event, a betrayal, a loss, a spiritual awakening that strips away everything she thought she knew about herself and her place in the world. This stripping away process is crucial because it forces her to develop an unshakable connection with her inner guidance system. When external support systems fall away, she has no choice but to turn inward and discover the vast spiritual resources available to her. This is when her real power begins to emerge. If this message has touched your soul, leave a like so more consciousnesses can awaken to the light. The chosen woman's journey involves several distinct phases of transformation. Initially, she may resist her solitary nature, fighting to fit in and be like everyone else. This phase is characterized by frustration, exhaustion, and a deep sense of not belonging anywhere. The second phase involves recognition and acceptance. She begins to understand that her differences aren't defects, but rather indicators of her spiritual gifts. She starts to honor her need for solitude and begins exploring her intuitive abilities more seriously. The third phase is integration and empowerment. She learns to navigate the world while maintaining her spiritual sensitivity. She discovers how to protect her energy, when to engage with others, and how to fulfill her mission without sacrificing her well-being. Finally, she enters the phase of conscious service. She understands that her solitude has prepared her to be a unique vessel for healing, wisdom, and transformation. She no longer feels lonely because she recognizes her connection to the broader web of consciousness and her specific role within it. Throughout these phases, the chosen woman often experiences what can only be described as supernatural guidance. She may receive messages through dreams, synchronicities, or direct intuitive downloads. Animals may be drawn to her, children may trust her instantly, and she may find herself in the right place at the right time to offer comfort or guidance to others, even strangers. Brian Weiss emphasizes that our spirit guides and higher self are constantly communicating with us, especially during times of solitude and quiet reflection. The chosen woman's alone time isn't empty or wasted. It's when she receives her most important spiritual instruction and downloads. This is why attempting to fill every moment with social activity or constant stimulation actually interferes with her spiritual development. She needs those quiet spaces to process the information she's receiving from higher dimensions, to integrate the healing work she's doing on behalf of others, and to recharge her empathic batteries. Many chosen women report feeling drained after spending time in crowds or engaging in superficial conversation, not because they dislike people, but because they're unconsciously absorbing and transmuting the emotional and energetic debris that others carry. This is part of their service, but it requires recovery time that others might not understand. Send this video to someone who is seeking spiritual clarity or comfort. The chosen woman also tends to attract people who are in crisis or spiritual transition. Her energy field naturally draws those who need healing, guidance, or simply someone who will listen without judgment. While this can feel overwhelming at times, it's actually evidence of her spiritual gifts in action. However, she must learn to maintain boundaries and discern when she's being genuinely called to help versus when she's being energetically vampirized by those who aren't ready to do their own spiritual work. This discernment comes with experience and is another reason why periods of solitude are essential for her development. Brian Weiss teaches that some souls incarnate specifically to serve as healers and way showers for others, but they must first heal and find their own way. The chosen woman's solitary journey is her spiritual apprenticeship, preparing her for the greater work she came here to do. During her alone time, she's not just processing her own karma and spiritual lessons, she's also doing collective healing work. She may find herself spontaneously praying for strangers, feeling called to send love to conflict zones around the world, or waking up with the urge to perform energy healing for people she doesn't even know. This is because chosen souls often serve as conduits for divine love and healing energy. They volunteer to anchor higher frequencies on Earth, which requires them to maintain a clear and balanced energy field. Too much social interaction with those operating at lower frequencies can cloud this clarity and interfere with their service. The chosen woman may also experience prophetic dreams, visions of future events, or strong intuitive knowing about global or personal situations. These gifts require cultivation through practice and quiet contemplation, not through constant external stimulation. Write in the comments, "Today I free myself from old patterns and embrace the light of spiritual renewal." One of the most challenging aspects of being a spiritually chosen woman is the loneliness that comes from being misunderstood, even by those closest to her. Family members may view her spiritual interests as strange or impractical. Friends may feel threatened by her intuitive insights or uncomfortable with her depth. Romantic relationships present particular challenges because most people are not prepared for the intensity of connection that a chosen woman naturally creates. Her ability to see through facades, feel her partner's emotions as if they were her own, and intuitively know things without being told, can be overwhelming for those who aren't spiritually developed. She may also find that she outgrows relationships as she evolves spiritually. People who once felt like perfect matches may suddenly feel like they're operating from a completely different dimension. This isn't anyone's fault. It's simply the natural result of rapid spiritual growth. Dr. Weiss often speaks about soul groups, clusters of souls who incarnate together lifetime after lifetime to learn from each other and support each other's growth. The chosen woman may find that her true soul family isn't necessarily her biological family or even people in her immediate geographic area. Her real connections may be with individuals she meets briefly, but who impact her profoundly, or with people she connects with across great distances. This understanding can bring great comfort because it explains why she may feel more understood by a stranger she meets once than by people she's known for years. It's not about time spent together, it's about soul recognition and spiritual compatibility. The chosen woman's path of solitude also serves to develop her self-reliance and inner strength. She learns to trust her own guidance above all external authorities, to find comfort in her own company, and to draw strength from her spiritual practices rather than from external validation. This self-reliance is crucial for her mission because she'll often be called to stand for truth even when it's unpopular, to offer healing even when it's not understood, and to hold space for others even when she receives little support in return. Thank the higher plan by leaving your like as a sign of connection and gratitude for this message received. But let's be clear about something important. Walking alone doesn't mean being isolated or bitter. The spiritually chosen woman can enjoy social connections when they're authentic and aligned with her values. She can form deep friendships with other awakened souls, engage in meaningful romantic relationships with spiritually compatible partners, and participate in community activities that serve a higher purpose. The difference is that she chooses her connections consciously rather than accepting whatever is offered out of fear of being alone. She's learned that quality matters more than quantity, that depth matters more than breadth, and that authentic solitude is preferable to inauthentic companionship. Her standards for relationships aren't high because she's demanding. They're high because she knows what true spiritual connection feels like, and she's no longer willing to settle for less. This discernment protects her energy and ensures that her relationships actually support her spiritual growth rather than hindering it. Many chosen women go through a phase of grieving the conventional life they thought they wanted. They may mourn the loss of simple friendships, uncomplicated romance, and the comfort of following societal expectations without question. This grief is normal and necessary. They're releasing an identity that never truly fit in order to embrace who they really are. Brian Weiss reminds us that every ending is also a beginning, and every loss makes space for something better to enter our lives. The chosen woman's willingness to release what doesn't serve her opens the door for connections and experiences that are perfectly aligned with her soul's purpose. As she grows more comfortable with her solitary nature, she begins to radiate a different kind of energy, one of self-possession, spiritual confidence, and deep inner peace. This energy is magnetic to others who are ready for authentic spiritual connection and repellent to those who would drain or manipulate her. She becomes a living example of what's possible when someone fully embraces their spiritual nature rather than trying to conform to others' expectations. Her presence alone inspires others to question their own choices and consider whether they too might be called to walk a different path. The chosen woman often finds that her greatest periods of creative and spiritual breakthrough occur during times of solitude. When she stops trying to please others and starts honoring her own rhythms and needs, her natural gifts begin to flower in ways that surprise even her. She might discover an ability to channel healing energy, write inspired poetry, create art that touches souls, or simply hold space for others in ways that facilitate profound healing and transformation. These gifts were always present, but they needed the stillness of solitude to fully emerge. Comment: I align myself with the purposes of good and continue firmly on my journey of elevation. Dr. Weiss teaches that we each have multiple spirit guides and teachers in the non-physical realm who are constantly offering guidance and support. The chosen woman's periods of solitude create the quiet space necessary to hear these subtle communications and receive the guidance that's always available to her. She learns to distinguish between the voice of her ego, which often creates drama and confusion, and the voice of her higher self, which always guides her toward her highest good. This discrimination is crucial for navigating her unique path with wisdom and grace. Her alone time becomes a form of prayer and meditation, a conscious communion with the divine forces that support her mission. She doesn't need elaborate rituals or external validation to feel connected to Source. She carries that connection within her and can access it anywhere, anytime. This inner connection becomes her greatest source of strength and guidance. When others doubt her path or question her choices, she can return to this inner sanctuary and remember who she is and why she's here. This unshakable knowing allows her to continue walking her path with confidence, regardless of external circumstances. The spiritually chosen woman also serves as a bridge between worlds. She helps others who are beginning their own spiritual awakening feel less alone and confused. Her willingness to walk her path authentically gives others permission to question their own assumptions and consider that there might be more to life than what they've been taught. She may not even realize the impact she's having. A casual conversation, a compassionate glance, or simply her peaceful presence in a chaotic environment can plant seeds of awakening in others that bloom months or years later. This is part of her service, being a catalyst for others' spiritual growth simply by being authentically herself. Her journey of embracing solitude ultimately leads to a profound understanding of interconnectedness. She realizes that walking alone doesn't mean being separate from others. It means being so deeply connected to the universal source that she can love and serve from a place of overflow rather than need. She discovers that true companionship comes not from external relationships, but from her relationship with the divine aspect of herself. Once this connection is established, all other relationships become expressions of this primary relationship rather than attempts to fill an inner void. This understanding transforms everything. She no longer seeks relationships to complete her. She seeks relationships to share the completeness she's discovered within herself. She no longer fears solitude because she knows she's never truly alone. She's always connected to the vast web of consciousness that includes all souls throughout all dimensions. Right, I accept this spiritual guidance and continue forward with courage and faith. Keep expanding your consciousness with the recommended videos. The chosen woman's path is not an easy one, but it's a sacred one. Her willingness to walk alone when necessary, to trust her inner guidance above external pressure, and to maintain her connection to spirit regardless of how others respond, is what makes her a lighthouse for other souls navigating their own dark nights. She learns that her solitude is not a punishment, but a privilege. She's been entrusted with the sacred task of maintaining a clear channel between earth and heaven, between the human and divine aspects of existence. This is work that can only be done by those willing to sacrifice the comfort of conventional belonging for the honor of divine service. Her journey teaches us all that sometimes the greatest act of love is the willingness to stand apart, to maintain our connection to truth even when it's lonely, and to trust that we're exactly where we need to be even when we can't see the bigger picture. Every spiritually chosen woman who embraces her path makes it easier for others to do the same. She's a pioneer, exploring territories of consciousness that others will eventually follow. Her courage to walk alone today creates pathways that future generations will travel with greater ease and understanding. So if you recognize yourself in this message, know that your solitude is not a sign of failure but a badge of spiritual honor. You've been chosen for this path because you have the strength to walk it, the wisdom to navigate it, and the love to serve others through it. Your alone time is not empty.